Coming up on Theatre Talk.
I write a lot. I write maybe for about 8 or 9 hours, you know, but I don't actually write for 8 or 9 hours. I probably write for about an hour and a half, and then I fart around. But I figure if I don't have the farting around, I can't have the bit.
Well, that's what I wonder, because I'm in the studio on my own for 8 hours.
Yeah.
But I should just do the morning and then go put a bet down on the races.
Except
like Roald Dahl did. Go off to the bookies.
Yeah, completely.
Theatre Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
What about rules, honey? Rules?
I believe that Matilda Wormwood is an exception to the rules.
An exception to the rules in my school?
From New York City, this is Theatre Talk. I'm producer Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, Susan, I've been going to Broadway opening nights for about 20 years, but the one that I just went to is probably one or two, maybe Hugh Jackman #1, and the opening of Matilda at the Schubert Theater the other night is #2. An absolutely thrilling night. The reviews are out today, 4 stars from every critic in New York. I want to welcome the creators of Matilda and the star of Matilda to Theatre Talk tonight and tell them, gentlemen, it's all downhill from here.
That's all right, I can handle it.
I hope you're enjoying yourselves, because it's just going right down.
Wait a minute, we're #2? You got us here because we're #2?
Choose cabaret shows you're #1.
Walk out.
Tantrum time.
Hugh Jackman. All right, we are joined by Dennis Kelly, who wrote the absolutely terrific script to Matilda, based on the Roald Dahl novel. Welcome to Theatre Talk, Dennis.
Thank you.
Tim Minchin, whom I met in London, wrote one of the best scores I've heard on Broadway in at least 20 years. Welcome to Theatre Talk.
Thanks.
And a fantastic performance by Bertie Carvel as Miss Trunchbull, who makes Miss Hannigan look like Carol Burnett. Terrific performance.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations on your reviews. So let me ask you guys, I mean, you're all new to Broadway, and you've just opened with one of the biggest shows of all time. Can I just get what was the opening night like for you, Tim? I mean, what's the experience like today, reading these reviews?
It's kind of, I find it very hard to take the whole moment in. I think it's so far beyond my expectations of what I'd be doing with my life, and and also there's we feel sort of just so grateful because we're both back in London working on different projects, and we get to walk in to opening night and watch the result of the sweat and blood and tears of the associates and Matthew Warchus and the actors,
Director, yeah,
and they just. It's just so incredible. We feel sort of cheeky that people are congratulating us because
you did your work.
We did our work 3 years ago, but it is an incredible thrill. Last night we were walking through Times Square, just going, I mean, how did this happen? You know.
Did you dream of this ever, Dennis, when you were growing up as a writer? Ever have
you know
Broadway in your sights?
I mean, most of the things I normally write are quite dirty, nasty, gritty little things that kind of upset people, really, you know. And so I never really thought I'd ever have a play either in the West End or Broadway. I mean, I love West End and Broadway. It's not that I feel that that's not where I want to be or anything. But I just never thought about it. It never sort of crossed my mind. And as it sort of began to sort of veer into my vision, I've sort of tried to keep it out of my mind in case I get too excited. I don't like to get too excited.
Wait till those royalty checks come in. You'll be very happy to be working on Broadway.
After the show last night, Matthew very kindly got Dennis and I up on stage, and the cast walked off, and the applause eventually died down, and Matthew and Dennis and I and the designer Rob Howell sort of happened to meet in the wings, and it was just the most English sort of, you know, there's no high fives. It's just this group of men going, yeah, well, I mean, there's sort of, I'm Australian, but that sort of British Australian tendency to not get carried away. Let's not get carried away. I mean, sure, that was probably one of the best opening nights I've ever witnessed, and everyone seems to like it, but you never know. Could close next week. We're just, it's not in our nature to kind of high five.
All right, and Bertie, you're making your Broadway debut, I believe, in this show.
That's right, yeah.
Pretty amazing debut. What was it like for you, that first Broadway opening?
Well, acting's a bit like sport, so you have to kind of concentrate on playing a good game, really. And
it's funny, opening nights, there's this kind of charge in the stadium. But your job is to kind of just sort of concentrate on the game. So it's like the most anticlimactic thing you could say to an interviewer who just wants to hear that it was fabulous and spent my whole life looking up to this moment. But actually, the truth is, you kind of, you know, just want to walk out and make sure.
And not only do
you take solace in your partners on the stage, and you know, you deliver the goods.
And you've got to do it tonight as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Twice tomorrow.
They're going back to London.
Yeah. We get to
They're got a lot of,
hangovers.
and you're stuck here for a year or so.
We'll see. We'll see.
Bertie, did you have to audition for this part?
Yes. Yeah.
How long ago was that?
I'm not so grand that people.
All right.
Not quite so grand.
Now,
Check in with you
have
after the Tony Awards. There won't be any audition after that.
I noticed your background. You have high pedigree and Shakespearean actor and training and all of this. But
Thank you very much.
Had you played women before?
No, I wanted to do Juliet for my end of year showcase. You know, you do 3 years at drama school and then you have like 2 minutes to impress anybody who might give you a job. And you get to choose what you're going to do. And I said, I want to do the Juliet poison speech. And they said, no, it's a really bad idea. We strongly advised against it. It's sort of fun that here I am on Broadway.
Drag for the next 8 months on Broadway.
Yeah. Whose inspiration was it to bring him in?
Did you always know you wanted the man to play Miss Trunchbull in the show?
When we were making the show, there was we did many workshops, many drafts of scripts and things. Tim would bring in different songs, and it was a kind of a spirit of experimentation. So for example, with the Matildas, we didn't know we were going to necessarily have children. We might have some children, might have adults, might have. One moment we thought puppets.
We just want to get the story right and then worry about solving the logistics after.
Yeah. So there was an idea that there might be a man playing it, and you know, we sort of did workshops and.
I wrote the songs with a man in mind.
Oh, you did.
Tim was very keen on the idea of a
just because, you know, that Quentin Blake drawing that I had known for 20 years or 15 years. She's just a monster, and I couldn't imagine how we would find that woman, and the solution was to find a man. But and so I wrote with the man in mind, but it wouldn't have mattered if it was a woman. The tone of her songs had to be a certain way anyway. But we workshopped with men. By the time we got to actually casting the production, we were convinced it was the right idea, but we didn't know which man it would be.
And what did he do in the audition that impressed you all when he came in and was able to?
Well, actually, it's the only audition I was in. I don't fancy myself a casting agent. That was the only audition I wanted to be a part of. And for me, because I write incredibly wordy songs, it was about accuracy. And actually, that is now that this role is sort of becoming legendary and has won, and Bertie's won awards in the UK and stuff, it is actually this sort of laser accuracy, the playing of a good game time and time again, the diction and the absolute, it's accurate. And that almost sounds like faint praise, but for me, accuracy, especially in diction and songs and stuff, that was the thing. I went, that guy can do it.
You probably have to have the Shakespearean training to be able to pull off his densely written lyrics. Nah. It's pretty easy.
So, actually, I think it's physiological. There are some people who are just not built to be able to put things in the front of their mouth.
I'll tell you a story about this. When I was at drama school, we sat with a mirror like this one. Every day we had to sit for 10 minutes, and our wonderful teacher Anna Perry, who taught us speech, and she taught us diction basically, and we had to do all kinds of archaic exercises to sharpen our tongue tips and to make sure that all the apparatus of our organs of articulation were razor sharp, and some did and some didn't. Anyway, so you'd sit on the tube with your mirror going people kind of like moving up. Anyway, I was slightly over diligent in these exercises. And I had learned that one of the things you're supposed to be able to do if you to speak, you know, properly, is to say "ah" with 3 fingers in your mouth. Try it, and then say "ta ta." I can't do it because my frenulum, which is the little string that underneath your tongue, is too short. And I asked my voice teacher, you know, what am I going to do? And he said, you know, you can have it snipped.
You can have it.
I thought, I don't know, that's
Sounds a
horrific.
bit much.
Something out of Roald Dahl. Anyway, there is an exercise for this where you suck your tongue to the. Please don't try this at home. You suck your tongue to the roof of your mouth.
Your own tongue?
Your own tongue. Someone else's. And you draw your jaw down like this.
That does not
And it
look
stretches the
nice.
frenulum. And I used to do this every day obsessively because I wanted to, you know, excel. And I was doing it on the motorway once. And my frenulum snapped. And the tongue has, you know, more nerve endings than most other parts of the body. And so it feels that this tiny tear had appeared in my frenulum and in my tongue. It felt like the whole thing was, you know, I was going to be kind of like lolling around. Anyway.
Dennis, take me back to when you were a kid. Roald Dahl, I think, is more popular in England than he is over here. I mean, we're sort of Dr. Seuss here. But did you grow up reading all of the Dahl books?
Yeah. I mean, I was a bit older than Matilda came out. I guess I would have been about 14 or 15 when Matilda came out, maybe a bit older even. So it was, I wasn't familiar with Matilda, but I mean, things like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Great Glass Elevator. I mean, it's funny because people ask, is it difficult to write like Dahl? Do you think about it a lot? And I didn't think about it at all, and I never hardly crossed my mind really. Was this because? And I think the reason is because Dahl is sort of in your DNA. If you're British, it feels to me like the voice of Dahl is so strong that I don't. It didn't feel difficult to access. You know what I mean? And
You either know it or you don't.
well, yeah, I think it's there. I mean, I think the key thing about Dahl is that he's having fun at any given moment. He's probably having more fun than you are, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like. It feels like he's really enjoying every little bit.
Yeah.
And as long as you remember that, you don't go too far
I
wrong.
think when you and I spoke on the phone a few weeks ago, you said that it was interesting reading the stories because one writer would go just so far with the nastiness, the cynicism, and Dahl just goes a little.
I love that
bit
about him.
farther.
I love that. It's just because there's a naughty boy inside Dahl who just wants to see what happens if he breaks things or if he like
They're
you know
definitely
if
cut from the same cloth.
it's true.
He's positively gleeful in his eyes.
So where did you come up with the concept revolting children?
The word revolting is such a Dahlian word. I mean, the pun on revolting is very old and almost, I did consider that it was too hackneyed. You know, the peasants are revolting.
Yeah,
That old pun was all, I did think, oh, that's, you know, it's not very original, but because the idea of revolt is absolutely fundamental to Matilda, inspiring the other kids to revolt and to rebel. And the word revolting, of course, for me, one of my favourite Dahl books was Revolting Rhymes, which is a book of his poetry, the retelling of fairy tales. Yeah. It's so naughty, and it's a beautiful rhyme. I'm obsessed by rhyme and meter. You know, I'm not really a free verse guy. I'm like, bam, that's what I love. And so this idea of revolting children singing revolting rhymes, I sort of, because I like Dennis, was sort of marinated in Dahl, I found myself, like with The Smell of Rebellion, Trunchbull's song, which is all about, you know, being able to smell rebellion. That's sort of stolen from the witches because they smell children, or the child catcher in Chitty Chitty, or you know, and the revolting rhymes are stolen from revolting rhymes, and you know, we sort of were shamelessly just sweeping up Dahl's world while we were trying to tell this specific story.
Yeah. And you do it wonderful, not just with your tongue, but your nose is always twitching throughout the whole thing.
He did a lot of exercises in drama school. Nostril
and the M5 or whatever you were doing.
How long does it take you to get into makeup for that part?
Well,
Your hump and your
wart and all these things.
it's all acting, don't you know?
nice
It
legs,
takes
though,
a
I
little
gotta
while.
say.
Yeah, I've got the first sort of 20 minutes of the show, haven't I? They've given me a fantastic late entrance, which is an old trick, and it's fantastic. So I get to sit there sort of looking in the mirror and tinkering with
Her wart.
bits and pieces, her wart and her boil. There's a wart
boil.
and a boil. One has hairs and one is hairless.
That's how you didn't know the difference.
Well, it just happens to be so. I suppose that the wart could be hairless, but
But I don't think the boil could be hairy.
I don't think the boil could be hairy and still be a boil. Although it could have hairs. They wouldn't be. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Incidental.
Yeah.
Anyway. Now, Tim and Dennis, we spoke of this before, but I'm just fascinated by Dahl. You went to see his estate where he lived. And if you could just tell me about that fascinating writing shed that he has. I mean, he's got this elegant country estate, but he didn't write in the most comfortable setting.
No, he wrote in a. It's like this. It was like this little brick shed that's probably about. We wouldn't really all fit into it, and if you know, it's about this big, really, you know. And you go in, and I mean, the house is beautiful, really lovely house, really lovely grounds. And you walk down this little avenue of trees, and you get to this little shed. You know, they say to you, "You want to see the shed?" And you think it's not really a shed; it's like a converted office with filing cabinets in. And then you go into the bit where he wrote, and they've got it exactly as it was. And it's just a dirty armchair with a hole ripped out of it because he had an abscess from where he crashed as a fighter pilot, and a sleeping bag on the floor, which sort of he would pull up over his.
Sheathe himself.
Yeah, he pull up in the winter when he got cold. He
There's
pull
no
this
heat in
up.
the shed.
No, well, he had a little electric heater on a rickety wire like this that he'd pull over and turn on, and then
On
he
an
just
arm that,
yeah.
that he made.
And
You mean
just
you
sort of
don't
sit-
write in one like that?
No, but I completely understood it because, like, he even had like the window was covered so he couldn't see out, and you look at it and you think he created these amazing stories in it. But I completely understand it because what he was doing, it feels to me, is like he was closing everything off, so that it was just him and the world he was in. And I think he would write till about 12 o'clock, and that's when he'd stop. He'd go down there every morning and write, and the thing was like
Freezing cold, so he put just polystyrene foam. He sort of lined it with sheets of white polystyrene and just sort of stuck them round, and then proceeded to smoke and write with a pencil on a yellow pad all day until the polystyrene was browny yellow with nicotine. But he didn't change it out or cover it up. It's like a hovel.
And it's exactly that way today. They've kept it the same way.
Well, they moved it into a museum, but it's everything. He had little objects from his life all the way back from before the war, and you know, little bits and bloody the bones of his children.
And I read once an interview with him, and he said he was good for about 500 words a day, no more. That's all he could do was 500 words a day.
Is that right?
Because he said it was, his imagination was gone after 500 words. He couldn't hear the characters talking. He couldn't imagine something after about 500
You know, that
words.
makes me feel really good, because when I go into work in the morning and I sort of have a schedule thing, I tend to get about an hour and a half of or 2 hours of really focused, and the rest of the day I'm scraping bits of good stuff out of hours of wasted time. I should just give up.
There's a lot of piddling around the edges, isn't there? I mean, I tend to think I end up writing for about, I write a lot, I write maybe for about 8 or 9 hours, you know, but I don't actually write for 8 or 9 hours. I probably write for about an hour and a half, and then I fart around. But if I figure if I don't have the farting around, I can't have the bit.
Well, that's what I wonder, because I'm in the
maybe
studio
you
on
can
my
get
own
the-
for 8 hours,
Yeah.
but I should just do the morning and then go put a bet down on the races
Except
like
there was
Roald Dahl did. Go off to the bookie.
Well, one thing that we have to keep in mind, too, you alluded to this, the hollowed-out chair, and I think it may be a key to understanding why these things are often so dark, is he was in chronic pain his whole life.
He was in physical pain his whole life.
Because
and
of that
emotional
crash and
pain a lot of his life.
During the war,
Matilda is wonderfully magical and filled with children. What's the school's anthem?
Bambinatum est magitum.
Yes, children are maggots. But so there you are,
It's his
Bertie.
Latin. He didn't go to a very
quite
good
sad.
I went to a bad school.
Quite fabulous. Now, but there you are on stage, Bertie, working with all these kids. What's that like? I mean, you know, they say never work with animals.
Fundamental showbiz rule: don't work with children and animals.
They're wrong.
Now, of course, I'm asking you a question that you probably can't answer honestly, but do you have to sort of wrangle the children? Are the children very disciplined? Do they give you extra energy, or is there someplace in between?
Or do you want to strangle them?
They give you a sort of like clear and present reminder that it's all about playing, you know. And I think that most of us as actors get treated like children quite a lot, and probably behave like children quite a lot. And one of the good reasons for that is that we're sort of trying to keep alive our innate ability to make believe that everybody's born with, and then sort of gets a bit ossified over time and fossilized, and in some people completely atrophies. But kids have it absolutely naturally. They haven't sort of boxed everything up so neatly, so it's like they go, oh yeah, we're going to pretend to do that now, or what would it be like if we were in a school where the headmistress was a psychopath? Yeah. Oh right, okay, you know, and it's not, it's like, they accept that, I think, you know, and as long as there's the right structure, the rehearsals are really enjoyable, because it's what we're doing with grown-up actors. It's just...
But you had to do extra rehearsals because there's 3 Matildas,
there are
right?
4 Matildas.
4 Matildas,
Four Matildas, yeah.
4 Matildas. So
it's a lot of rehearsing.
You're fairly new to musical theatre, right? Is this your first?
Yeah, this is my first sort of journey into musical theatre.
Have you been bitten by the bug? I mean, when you go back to London, are you going to do another musical? Is that what you're excited about
I'm
now?
not doing one right away, because this one, I really like this one, and I've got other things that I'm doing. I'm doing some TV and some films and some straight plays, but I would like to do another one. I mean, I think it's an amazing form. I am a bit of a musical virgin. I didn't really know much about musicals, and which seems like to ask me to do one is a bit of a stupid idea. But I mean, you know, it is incredible. It's an incredible form, because you have access to emotion. All theatre is emotion. I mean, theatre is theatre needs to. I think the best theatre is emotion backed up with intellect. But if you've got a choice, you choose emotion. You know.
And you write right up to that moment where the emotions become so powerful that you have to sing.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the sort of key to doing it?
I mean, that's what they say. I don't know if I believe it, but it's a helpful sort of heuristic. I don't know. I don't think anyone needs to sing ever, really.
Well, what would you
that's
say?
what I said about the songs, but would they?
I don't know. I think. Look, I mean, I could talk for hours on the transition between dialogue and song, and I couldn't talk for hours on it because I know anything about musical theatre or because I've studied it, or I don't have a clue. Mm-hmm. I just am incredibly interested in that movement, and getting it right is the key to musical theatre. Getting in and out is the key.
Right. Finding
a way, either musically or emotionally, to make that not suck is what is the key, and then a million other things. But that's the key to my job. And I think it's difficult. Musical theatre is perhaps the genre of all the performance arts that can really sit either end of a wide scale. It can be really hard to watch when it doesn't work, and really transcendent when it does.
As it was that opening night.
Well, I hope so, and you know, I'm certainly not saying that's a function of something I did or even we did. Matilda, this musical is the most perfect example of collaboration. I mean, this is 7, 8, 10 people working at a very passionate level, completely focused on telling a story for the sake of the story. We made this for a Christmas show in Stratford-upon-Avon in 2010.
For the Royal
That was our goal for the Royal Shakespeare Company, supported by a company who weren't thinking about dollars. We hoped that it would live beyond it, but all we were doing is that, and it was truly collaborative. I think that's why it works. But yeah, the physics of musical theatre is interesting, and I hope I can write more, and I'm sure I'll keep learning about how to do it.
And we must say, Susan, what's wonderful about Matilda is it in no way condescends to the audience. No. Yes, kids will have a good time at it, but it is not, I stress, it is not a kid show. I don't think you intended it to be a kiddie show, a Disney show, a family show, or anything like that.
I think people get more than they bargain for.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a great thing. It's clever because Dahl wrote sort of grown-up books for kids, mm-hmm. and the show's quite similar, wouldn't you say? And
it's a grown-up musical.
It's a grown-up musical that people might bring their kids to, and they might come because they think it's for their kids, but I bet you they'll walk away having felt something, you know, worth the ticket price.
I defy you to find an adult who doesn't have a tear in the eye when you do that absolutely beautiful number that opens the second act, When I Grow Up, where you have the little kids on the swings and then their older selves come down. It's really a transcendent moment.
Genuinely, gender doesn't matter, age doesn't matter. It's about what it's like to be a child, even the child inside the adult and all that. And we've all got a kid inside us. Sort of.
It is an absolutely terrific show, one of the best musicals I have seen, and I've seen 20 years worth of musicals. It's Matilda. It's at the Schubert Theater. The terrific script is by Dennis Kelly. Great score by Tim Minchin, and a fantastic performance, as good as Dorothy Loudon was as Miss Hannigan that I saw years ago. Bertie Carvel as Miss Trunchbull. Thank you all for being our guests on Theater Talk, and much success with Matilda.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you around the award ceremonies and the cocktail parties, and the whole nother exciting adventure for you guys.
We did it for the cocktails.
Exactly right. Thanks a lot. Great show.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Corey and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.